Good morning. It's Monday morning for me here today. So does anybody have problems managing time? Even if you have time, which you may have had more of in the last few months, are you effective with that time? So I have some tips that I've learned and that I use myself that are so helpful in managing time. So are you productive? So 7 tips to be productive, because we try to balance family and life. We want to have it all: thriving family, great sleep, time to do our exercise, and have a career. So, do we, how would it feel to get our work done without sacrificing your relationships and your exercise and the rest of your life? So does that sound good? So stay tuned. And if you're joining me live, please say hello and tell me where you're coming from. And even if you're on the replay, I'd love to give you a shout out afterwards. Love to interact. Oh, good morning, Katrine. Great to see you. Lovely to have you on this morning. Thank you for joining me. And if we haven't met before, my name is Dodd, and I'm here today on my business page and my personal profile. I'm trying out some new things this week. I'm going to try and do dual streams just to see how that works out. So wherever you're joining me, let me know where you're joining me from, and welcome. So I'm here to help you bring your business online on my personal page, because we don't want to chase after anybody. And for my personal profile, I'm here to just share my life and my journey with you. So welcome. And so today's all about being productive, because it's Monday morning, right? And so are we ready to get going for the week? Have you had a good weekend? And are you ready to, okay, now you have that great big long list, to get back to work, and maybe you're back even in an office and you have lots of things to do and your mind's still on your home stuff, thinking, okay, well, I really want to be doing something else. Katrine says, we want to have it all, getting it done without sacrificing. Yes, absolutely. Because we need that balance in life. And especially after a weekend, right? We realize, okay, we had some different things going on in the weekend. So now how do we, still stay in that mindset of family life and work at the same time? Okay, so let's get into it. So I have 7 tips for you. So first of all, to-do lists. We all have them, right? And do they do you any good? Sometimes yes, sometimes no for me. But the whole idea of a to-do list is to get it out of your brain. There's something about going from brain to hand to actually writing it down, getting, maybe, some people prefer the phone, but there's something about writing it down so that you brain dump. And so then you don't have that feeling of overwhelm, that swirling ideas swimming around in your head. Okay, I have to remember this, I have to remember that. So just write things down, and, then maybe do a quick priority, because you've heard the principle, I've talked about it before, about eating the frog, doing that most important thing. So the idea is to, the night before, when you go to bed, if you have things on your mind, especially, write them down, and then in the morning, do the most important thing first, because we can get distracted. Like, what's the first thing that you do in the morning? Is it, do you check your email? Do you check your messages? I know that I have, sometimes checked my messages, and then you think, okay, well, I'm just going to answer this message or do this thing for this one person. And you go down a rabbit hole, and then, you're 2 hours later, you haven't even done, what you wanted to do. Katrine says, brain dump, true relief. Yes, exactly. It is a big relief, because especially if I wake up in the middle of the night and my mind's on something and I'm trying to remember, okay, remind myself to do this in the morning. Take out a piece of paper and write it down, and you can go back to sleep again. That's so many times that has, helped me. So going back to first thing in the morning, Yeah, before you do your email, do at least one thing for yourself. They say to do 5 things, but just not getting into that email abyss, which is another tip. So just getting that frog done, or the first 5 things done, and then batching things. So if you do have a lot of emails, uh, I like to do emails when I'm not first thing in the morning, because first thing in the morning, you've gotten up, you've, got your tea or your coffee or what it is, and you're ready to go, and you got that brain power on. And so that's the best time to do your most important task. And if you get into emails, then you can go into these rabbit holes, or the email abyss, as I like to call it. So when do you do the emails? I do it later on in the day, when I have, not as much brain power, after I've done my frog, and batch them. I actually have a dedicated email address that just for those not so important emails, not my day-to-day business, but for things that I want to subscribe to. I do want to hear from this person, but it's not a big priority. It's just a when I have time, or if I'm interested, kind of thing. So I have a dedicated email address just for that, so that then it doesn't clog up my important things. Katrine says, I can so relate. First in the morning, I do one thing for myself before taking on email and notifications. Perfect. Yes. I mean, just if you do one thing, take one thing away from that. I think that's a really big tip, is just that email, the email and the messages. So, again, with the email, absorb it when it works for you, because with those subscription type of emails, you don't want to use your maximum brain power on that. Absorb it when it works for you, and set boundaries around that. And so then again, with the batching, I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit. Batching is, going back and forth to your messages. If you have that messenger bell on, then every time you hear that ding, then you're tempted to go, okay, I'm just going to go back and check that message. Well, batch it so that you do that most important thing first, and then go to the messages. Sometimes with messages, we feel that, we need to answer them right away. Well, they can wait an hour, or half an hour, or just to get your other thing done. Love it. Not so important emails. Yes, that has been a huge difference for me. Just when you sign up to things that you you're going to get emails from them, and you do want to read them, but they're not important. Separate email address, and then I have my main email address for all my business type of things, and financial and that kind of thing, things that are really important. So then they're separate, and it's not such a long inbox. So you can quickly see what your attention should be to. Okay, so getting on to number 4 of 7, shorten your deadline. Need to go. We'll catch the replay. Okay, great. Thanks for joining. That's what replays are for. Lovely to have you. Have a wonderful evening, Katrine. She's in Germany, so I know she's later in the day than I am. Okay, so shorten your deadline. A lot of people are on the last minute. Are you a last minute type of person, or do you, plan ahead and get things done? Most of the time I like to plan ahead, but again, last minute, So for instance, with my mentoring, I would often, we work on 30 days, 30-day plan. And, very often I'd be right at, just before my next coaching call, I'd, quickly get things done. So if you shorten your deadline, then the last minute comes up sooner, and that will prompt you to get it done. So it's just a little trick, a mindset trick, is to shorten your deadline. Say, okay, I have to get it done by a certain date, and have an accountability partner maybe to make sure that you adhere to that deadline. And then for people that are, the last minute, then the last minute comes sooner and you'll get it done. Okay, so here's another one. Just if you have things that you could maybe outsource. I haven't done this. I'm not at that point yet, but maybe it's more efficient for things that are important but are more simple to give it to somebody else to do. So, little administrative type of tasks and that kind of thing, because I also do some virtual assistant work. And so I do that for some other people. And so they're outsourcing to me. So it might be an idea, if you have somebody that you trust to do that type of thing, and that frees you up to do more important tasks that need your brain power. And so 2 more. The next one is learning to say no. So being respectful of your own time. Often, the saying goes about, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person, because busy people, they're always kind of running, and they can always seem to fit things in, but it seems that they have things under control, but it's like that duck along the surface. They seem really calm on the top, but underneath their feet are just paddling like crazy. So learning to say no when you really don't have time to do something, is so key. And so just being respectful of your own time. And I love this last one, filling in gaps of time. So have you heard the story about, you have a glass jar and you have all these items to fill it up. You have big rocks, pebbles, sand, and water. So you start with the big rocks. So that would be like eating the frog in the morning. And then you fill the big rocks up to the top of the jar. And then you ask yourself, okay, well, is the jar full? Well, no, you can still put the pebbles in because they slide down in between the big rocks. And then, okay, is the jar full? No, now you can still put sand in, and that slides down in between. And you think, okay, well, it looks pretty full to me now, but no, you can still add water. So the purpose of this story is to emphasize it's the order of things that makes the difference. Because if you were to add the water and the sand and then the pebbles, you probably wouldn't get all those items, the same number of items in the jar. So the order of how you do things is so important. Doing those big jobs first, the most important ones, and then you fill in the gaps with the less important things. So planning ahead is so huge, and having those priorities. I like to ask myself, what's the most important thing that I get done today? And then if I get that done, then I feel relieved and bonus, and everything else is just, extra. So, so for example, in real life, if you want to watch a movie, where are you spending your time? On Netflix, or maybe on getting something done that you really wanted to get done? So what's more important? So those are the tips, and it all comes down to working out for yourself what works for you. Try different things, try some of these ideas, and then find whatever pattern works for you. And let me know, what's your favorite? What's your takeaway? What do you think might work for you that you can go away today and just try it out? What are you going to try out from these tips? So I'd love to know that. And I hope this has been helpful. And if you feel that anybody else could benefit from this, please feel free to pass it along. And until I see you again in a couple of days, I look forward to that. Have a wonderful rest of the day, whatever part of the day it is for you. And thank you for joining me, and bye for now.